coming tonight. My name is Brad Miller. I'm the CEO of PSTA, and thank you very much for your interest in public transportation. Tonight is a public hearing. We're having two public hearings. Cassandra Borchers, our Chief Development Officer, will kind of walk through what we're going to be talking about, and then we'll stay here and listen to every person who has a comment, because we really want to hear this. That we do have a couple of PSTA board members that will ultimately be making this decision. With us, we've got Mr. Josh Schulman from St. Petersburg and Mr. Vince Cox representing Pinellas County in the back there. I will say that as some of you were at the last PSTA board meeting, I think there's some optimism that we will be able to not make all or some of these service reductions by virtue of identifying some additional funding. So, but it's very, very important to hear from you, and please speak your mind, whatever you want to say, because we really want to get that information to the decision makers. So with that, I'll pass it over to Cassandra.
Good evening, and thank you for coming. As Brad mentioned, I'm Cassandra Borchers. I'm the Chief Development Officer here at PSTA. I'm going to read the official statement for public hearings to open the public hearing. I'll give a brief presentation about the proposed changes, and then we'll take comments. And everyone who would like to make a comment, please ask for a yellow card out at the front table, and we'll make sure that we read your name. So with that, we'll open the public hearing. This public hearing has been scheduled so that the general public may be given the opportunity to comment on proposed service changes. Individuals wishing to make a presentation today are required to complete a yellow public hearing speaker card. This card can be given to staff either at the start of the hearing or during the hearing. Speakers will be recognized in the order in which comment cards are received. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per individual speaker unless additional time is granted. A group can designate a spokesperson by completing an appropriate form and presenting it to staff. The spokesperson can then speak on behalf of the group, addressing staff for 3 minutes for each member of the group present in the audience who waives his or her right to speak, up to a maximum of 10 minutes. Presentations will be limited only to the subject for which the public hearing is being held. The public hearing will not be closed until all individuals so desiring have had an opportunity to make a presentation. Please raise your hand if you require a public speaking card, and one will be provided to you. Anyone? A paid advertisement concerning this public hearing appeared in the Tampa Bay Times on March 20th, 2019. Notices were posted at Park Street Terminal, Grand Central Station, Williams Park, Pinellas Park Transit Center, PSTA and Administrative Headquarters, and on all PSTA buses on March 20th. A press release announcing the public hearing was emailed or faxed to major media contacts and social service agencies on March 21st. A notice regarding the public hearing was posted on PSTA's website on March 20th. To date, we have received 249 comments on this proposal. So again, please note this public hearing is being held to collect comments on the proposed service changes outlined in our notices and in the PowerPoint that I will give to you in just a moment, and only those routes. Comments about other routes or issues should be either emailed to engage@psta.net or submitted to staff through the PSTA info line at 727-540-1900. Thank you. And with that, I will give the presentation on the proposed service changes. If you'd like to take another look at these proposed service changes, there are boards out in the lobby that you can take a look at and ask questions of staff. So just so you all know, this hearing is being streamed on YouTube, so we are live right now. Each person, again, will have 3 minutes to speak, and the hearing will last 30 minutes or as long as it takes to have everyone heard. If you do not wish to make a statement tonight, you may make your comments in writing. You can give those to staff tonight, or you may email them to us at routechanges@psta.net. That is a very specific email that we use for our public hearings and the proposed service changes. So again, that is routechanges@psta.net. Information at this hearing will be forwarded to the board, and they will take this, all the comments that we have received under consideration during their board meeting at the end of the month on April 24th. The proposal for service adjustment includes eliminating routes 22, 58, the Safety Harbor Connector, the Dunedin Palm Harbor Connector, and the East Lake Shuttle. Route 16 proposal is to eliminate the portion north of 38th Avenue North and reroute Route 38 to cover the lost portion of Route 16 south of 38th Avenue North, eliminating service to Coffee Pot Bayou area, and I will have a map of that in a moment. Our proposal for Route 5 is to eliminate the portion west of Grand Central Station and extend the Route 9 to cover the eastern portion of the Route 5. Our proposal also includes the elimination of DART service along the routes or portion of those routes that we do not serve with fixed route service. So by federal law, we are required to provide paratransit service within a 3/4 mile of our fixed route service. There are areas of the county where we do not have fixed route service, and we are not obligated to provide DART service in those areas, although we have in the past. As I discussed, these are maps of the proposed service changes. So this would be the combination of Route 38 west near Tyrone, and then connecting into Route 16. So a portion of the Route 16, the north end would be eliminated, and the eastern end of the Route 38 would be eliminated. For the Route 9, we would extend the Route 9 to cover the eastern portion of Route 5 and offer a one-seat ride between Gateway Mall and Grand Central Station. The western section of Route 5 would be eliminated if that is the direction of the board. If it is kept, we would make this an independent route. So a new Route 5 would be from Grand Central Station, completing the Route 5 to Tyrone Mall. As part of the proposal, these are the areas where DART service may be eliminated in East Lake and in Shore Acres. So with that, we'll take comments. Again, you will have 3 minutes to make your comments unless you've submitted a sheet that other people are joining you and you are able to take their time as well. I will call 2 speakers right now so that the second person is ready to come to the podium and make their presentation. Our first presentation will be from Robert Johnson. So Robert Johnson, if you could come up, and following him will be David Dalby. If you could please state your name and come up to the microphone, state your name and your address, and you'll have 3 minutes. Thank you.
My name is Robert Johnson. I'm a rider of the Route 58. I use it to get to work and to, I forgot to, my address is 3726 17th Avenue South, St. Pete, Florida, 33711. I would like to see the Route 58 saved, and if possible, if the Route 58 is taken away, if the board considered having another route to pick up portions of the 58 that are busier or have a high router rate. I'm not sure if the board considered saving any portions of the 58, but I would like to just throw that out there if they could consider saving portions if they decide to actually cut it. That was it. Thanks.
David Dalby, followed by Melvin Crone.
Hi, my name's David Dalby. I live at 858 26th Avenue North. I'm a disabled veteran. When Route 22 started, it made it so much easier for me to get to Bay Pines Hospital. It's the only bus that goes out 22nd Avenue. Every morning I ride it, there's other disabled vets that are on their way to Bay Pines Hospital. Otherwise, they have to go downtown and hook in with bus 18, and it takes another hour and a half for them to get out to Bay Pines Hospital. Bus 22 scoots us straight out to Tyrone Square Mall. We can hop on bus 18 and get there really quickly. That's disabled vets like me and regular vets. Also, there's women I see get on the bus that take their kids to the Northwest Community Center. And they would be without it. They'd have to go the whole way downtown and make multiple changes to get back up to where they have their kids registered for daycare. I think elimination of bus 22 is a wrong idea. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Melvin Crone, followed by Mark Shaw.
Hello, my name is Melvin Crone. I live at 3082 Oak Brook Circle in Clearwater, Florida, 33759-1361. The zip code +4 is 4. I'm going to present these on the email to you but you won't be able to see them here, but I'm just going to tell you about them. I'm talking about the loss of service to Safety Harbor. And I am part of an Airbnb co-host. And one of the things Airbnb does right now is they call hosting experiences. And the co-host that I'm working with works as a biking experience. For lodging options for Airbnb, Airbnb has grades of host, and the person I'm working with is a super host. So now we're talking about PSTA as the only affordable way for foreign visitors to go ahead and transport bikes. They cannot use Uber, they cannot use Lyft, many foreign people will not be able to rent rental cars, and of course we just lose that market for all the foreign visitors. So loss of that service is really an economic input. Worldwide, Safety Harbor is one of 450 biking experiences worldwide. These include such destinations as Paris, San Francisco, London, and our little Safety Harbor. They have been utilized by over 30,000 guests. Think of the market potential of doing that. So if we lose our little service to Safety Harbors, which the Pinellas County Economic Development calls the jewel of Tampa Bay, it will have a big impact. Thank you for your time.
Mark Shaw, followed by Valerie Looker.
My name is Mark Shaw. I live at 10970 Oakdale Terrace in Seminole. And I'm here to defend the Route 58. I've been riding the 58 bus since 2009. It's very convenient in that I can catch it a half mile from my house and it drops me off right in front of where I work. And the times are perfect as well. There was a time I could take the 58 to the beach on Saturday. Now I have to take at least 2 buses to get to the beach. And I only live about 3 miles from Redington Beach. I've watched the 58 route get decimated over the last 10 years. Now you want to kill it all together. Everyone that rides that bus is going to school or work and are paying customers. Bryan Dairy Road is a major business corridor, and St. Pete College is a big-time dental school. There's also the Bardmore Hospital and Medical Center. I don't know if you've been to the Seminole Mall City Center recently, but it's a big bustling place now. There's lots of restaurants, and I'm sure the 58 would bring a whole lot of people to that place, and they would love that. My wife and I both ride the 58. She takes it to Raytheon and the Star Center at Bryan Dairy and Belcher, and I work at ConMed Liventech at Starkey and Bryan Dairy. Several people we work with ride the same bus. The man was up here earlier. Some older people that we know, they take the bus to Bardmore Medical Center for appointments because many of them live in the apartments next to Seminole City Center, and it's one bus there and one bus back. We've spoken with people that catch the 58 and relay it to and from the 100X. My wife has collected over 100 names of people that need this bus, and that's just one direction. Canceling routes isn't going to fix the deficit problem. Right now, I'd be accepting of a price hike if it would help. Something that isn't right that I've found is that you're prepared to end a route that is a necessity for many of us, yet the downtown looper is running for free every 15 minutes. Why not charge $1 or even 50 cents a ride? Why make paying customers that have jobs or classes to get to suffer so tourists who are here to spend money anyway get around town for nothing? I'm all for occasional promotions, but not a free ride all the time. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Valerie Looker, followed by Joan Looker.
Hi. I want to stay with Dart. Don't cancel my ride. I live in Clearwater, Florida, south of Safety Harbor. I like to ride with Dart every day. I go to work every day. Thank you.
And I'm Valerie's mother. It's a great convenience for her to be able to take the DART transportation to work every day. And it's given her independence, and she doesn't have to depend on me to drive her there. And we'll be real disappointed if you cancel the services. I hope you'll reconsider. Sounds like there are a lot of other more important reasons, but it's important to us as well. Thank you.
Robin Shaw. Robin will have 9 minutes. She has been given time from Tracy Eicher. Would you please raise your hand? Ikes. And Zachary Hayes. Please raise your hand. Okay, so they've ceded their time to Robin. Robin, you'll have 9 minutes, followed by Christopher Skipper.
My name is Robin Shaw. I live at 10970 Oakdale Terrace in Seminole, Florida here, in 33772. I've been riding the bus all my life because I can't drive. I have some physical difficulties. And my bus family, I have, seen a lot of people come and go, but there's been a core group of us that do rely on it, and I do have some more signatures. I didn't receive back the signatures I'd given last time, but it doesn't matter. But I do have some more signatures of more individuals that are concerned as well. This is their way to, as my husband said, to the hospitals. And, even to see my own mother, in Pinellas Park, I use the 58. I can use that to jump down there and see my mother, who's now 78 years old and, worried about me lately. But anyway, I really don't have much to say that I haven't already said before. Just that, my work family is concerned about me, and I'm concerned about the individuals that work along the entire Bryan Dairy corridor due to the fact that there's a lot of larger businesses there that are even opening up, some smaller businesses too, maybe, if you think. We just had a Dunkin' Donuts opened up, which is wonderful. We have the Bardmore to go to, the hospital, which is where I've gone all my life that I've known since I've been down here. But anyway, I just wish you would not eliminate the Route 58 because it is important for that corridor. If you eliminate that entire corridor, I don't know what I'm going to do. I cannot get to work at 6 o'clock in the morning and, get my downtime to, be in there and clock in. I just want to be a valid member of this community, and like everyone else in my community, my family, I love everyone here. I do think that funding needs to be sought after. If you can look at maybe, like my husband said, charging a little bit for the looper. It wouldn't be too erroneous to ask somebody to pay $1 even, maybe, or, 50 cents. I mean, we're paying more than that, $5 a day to get to work and back home so I can keep paying my ad valorem taxes, to keep PSTA running, to keep my Route 18, because I ride that. Or I do ride the other buses. And if my difficulties get so bad, I'm going to need DART too, and I understand. And I do love some of the adjustments that y'all have made. I do absolutely understand that the funding is hard, but you're doing new things now for funding, you know, asking Tallahassee, which hadn't been done before, which probably should have been done. I know we didn't maybe advertise for the penny for Pinellas well enough to understand how it affects the entire community. We didn't go and say that, you know, there's people who really do need these services, and when the community says, no, we're not going to give you a penny for Pinellas to help PSTA keep DART running, to keep the 58 running, the Route 22 running. These other changes, you think they're great. You know, I'm grateful that you're saving these routes by switching them around. But if we could gather more funds in through the public or through Tallahassee, maybe we can keep all the routes. This is a heavily populated community. People are dying on my streets every day. Every day. Do you want to add 200 more cars? Because we won't have the buses, we won't have the DART. Do you want to add more? You know what I'm saying? We won't have the funding if everyone in our community doesn't contribute what they should be contributing. For people like me, I am your family. You are my family. This is a small little peninsula. I see every one of you every day. I would hug every one of you. Absolutely love you. And I don't see why we can't have a community that rises up and maybe helps fund PSTA through Penny for Pinellas, or adding to the ad valorem taxes that's already being taken and giving a portion of that to PSTA, like this, you know, beaches. I don't know which beaches aren't paying their fair share, but please be willing to pay your fair share for individuals who are trying to be functioning and worthwhile in your communities. We love you. We do. And I want to keep on being able to stay in this community and not be homeless. I cannot drive. There are many people who can't, whether it be, you know, for drunken driving or whatever. That's up. I heard that's up. Okay, so help some of us out. So they made a mistake. They're a little bit idiots, in my opinion, but now they need a bus. Please, don't destroy the 22 and the 58 and take away the DART. If you can find funding in any other way, I beg the community to please come forward and help. Be aware that these things are being taken from what we already pay in our taxes, because not everyone's paying. And not everyone seems to care, or maybe they just don't know. But I do love my Pinellas County communities, all of you. And if we can work together and maybe be willing to give a little bit more to save the individuals that will be, you know, having the grandchildren that might marry your grandchildren. And may they be blessed and never have to ride the bus for difficulties or have DART for their difficulties. But for those of us that do, please do not eliminate these services for us. Thank you. Don't know what else to say.
Christopher Skipper, followed by Chase Hollowell.
Hello, my name's Christopher Skipper, and I live at 222 Valencia Circle. While I was riding the Route 58 to go to Publix, I had talked to one of the bus operators in regards to these flyers that I was seeing in regards to this public hearing. And I asked the bus driver, how much ridership do you get between, what was it, PSTA lay-by in Seminole City, right? Right, Brad? So, and he told me like it was 20 to 25 people. So think about it. There's a service called Uber Pool, a ride-sharing service in some cities, like in New York, and they even have Uber Express Pool where you can walk to a stop, kind of more similar to a bus. But think about it. A full-size bus carries around 40 people, and then five Uber Express Pool cars would literally be the same amount in gas as a half size of a bus. So if you're carrying 20 to 25 people and you have the ridership to support that full-size bus, what is the necessity to eliminate that route, especially since most of the complaints coming in this public hearing is coming from that specific route? But also in regards to other routes, first of all, Route 38 would be a partial elimination, and it would not extend to Short Acres. Like, there's some people all the way out in Snell Isle who are like over 3 miles away, and the bus doesn't come to them. But what about the people with disabilities? Now that care ride's not even going to come to Short Acres anymore. You have to go all the way down to Northeast Shopping Center. And not to mention, if you were to fully eliminate Route 22, you would be talking about walking an extra 16 blocks. That would be like 15 to 30 more minutes, especially if, you have to go in a different direction. And then Route 9 and Route 5, Route 9 would instead of going simply north to south, it would be going east to west, and it would be less efficient, and it would be more transfers to go to somewhere like Tyrone Square Mall. So I think like these proposed changes are like unnecessary, and I see also how like PSTA is also gets this grant for Direct Connect. I can't understand why they wouldn't just pull from that grant to improve service and just be like other transit agencies who expect people to ride the bike or walk to the bus stop. But other than that, I can't think of anything else to say. I'd like to thank you for letting me speak in front of you today. Thank you.
Chase Hollowell. Looks like you have an additional 3 minutes for Amanda Cannon. 6 minutes.
Hi, my name is Chase Hollowell, and I live at 12290 91st Avenue North in Seminole, Florida. I live behind St. Petersburg College used to be junior years ago, showing my age, but it is in Seminole. I'm also a student at St. Pete College, and I actually have my student ID if anybody wants to see it. Went back at 50, pursuing a degree in psychology. I want to thank Brad Miller and some of the other members of the board that are here as well. And it's not easy to run a bus system, I'm sure. There's a lot of intricate parts. The thing is back on the 27th, I came in and was talking about the issues that I saw in the scheduling on Route 58. And I truly believe that if it was scheduled in a way that incorporated people's normal work times, say between 5 and 6, I've worked at 4 jobs on that route. I worked at America 2. I also worked at a company called Freedom Scientific for the blind and visually impaired. I worked at Nestor Sales, which is now Medco. You might know it as AIM Supply. And now I work at Think Utilities. Every one of those jobs gets off between 5 and 6. And as I mentioned before, my boss made an accommodation for me to be able to work until 4:15 so I could take the bus. Now, the other problem is this. When that bus comes at about 4:30 where I work, if I miss it, the next bus comes in an hour and a half. So, if I were to look for a job on that route, I wouldn't. How many people do you think have got that story? I've talked to a few. Yes, ma'am. So, the other problem that I have is this. Our bus system is dealing with a lot of things right now, and there's a serious funding issue. And I went and took a look at the budget as it affects Route 58 and all the other routes being considered for closure. I believe it's looking at making up approximately $800,000 in revenue that could be put back into the system. But the problem is this. On the budget for 2019, it says they're behind approximately $1.7 million. So if we look at money and where it's going, we have to look at different funding resources that have come in. And we've had extra funding come in on ad valorem taxes. Is it 4 million, I believe, this year? Yeah. About $4 million in tax revenue extra. So that's good, but yet we have a budget shortfall. So why did this happen? And the only answer I can see is the BRT project. And it affects all these routes being considered for closure. So if we look at what's happening, St. Petersburg Beach does not want the BRT. I have their document in here that shows that they want to close access to their beach for the BRT project. Unfortunately, when the application was put in for the BRT project, there was $1.5 million put on that application for St. Pete Beach. There's been articles in the paper recently that show you that St. Pete Beach never said that they wanted to do that. They don't want to pay for it. So now we're faced with the 1.7 million, which I think part of that 1.5 was tied into it anyways, but now we're really looking at a shortfall. So now we're looking at making up $800,000. So how are we going to get that money back? And that's the big question here, because cutting this route and not acknowledging that it has been scheduled improperly, and I've shown the proof to Mr. Lasher. I have the proof in here. I also have documents from the Department of Transportation. This, by the way, is the resolution for the BRT from St. Pete Beach. They put this in on the 9th. On the budget, it says that there was a surplus deficit. This is a deficit of $1.79 million. Transfer from reserves, $1.79 million. Total balance at the end is $0. For all intents and purposes, that looks like we don't have a deficit because it was covered in the actual excess revenue, or reserves rather, sorry. So when I was reading the paper the other day, on March 29th, we find out that Mr. Dale had responded to a question back in February. An email from the FTA came to him, and he responded with two sources of funding that were being paid out: $4 million from St. Petersburg and $6.5 million from PSTA. That's $1.5 million over the $5 million. But that was probably St. Pete Beach. You know, it just makes sense. This is the actual application that PSTA filled out, showing that there was $6.5 million with the 1.5 from the St. Pete Beach. I also have document. Okay, thank you. Just the last thing I want to say is on this document right here. It's on page 2013 of the Federal Register. It states the law requires FTA to evaluate the degree of local financial commitment, including evidence of stable and dependable financial source, to construct, maintain, and operate the transit system or extension, and maintain and operate the entire public transportation system without requiring a reduction in existing services. FTA does not believe design-build projects should operate under a different set of rules with regard to the level of committed funds required at the various stages of the project development. That's all I've got. Thank you for your time.
Sarah Rosado, followed by Denise Deca.
I'm Sarah Rosado, 1144 Dover Court, Safety Harbor, Florida. I'm here because we're going to be stranded in Safety Harbor if this elimination occurs. Our problem started October 2016 when they decided to take the 62 out of Safety Harbor. We never had a problem. Now we have to go north to go south. We have a connector that only provides service from Felipe Park to Countryside Mall. That's it. It only gives us that direction. We have to connect to something else. I'm not the only rider, but I feel that I'm here representing everybody. We have disabled people. We have people that have hearing impairment, legally blind, that depend on DART, and we're told that if the buses don't run into Safety Harbor, DART won't also run into Safety Harbor. I went to the city commissioners meeting. I expressed all my concerns to all the commissioners. If this occurs, it's going to be catastrophic. And I'm just here to let you know that we're not going to let it end here. Our next action will be we're going to the American Disability Act. We're going to go to Channel 8 on your side. We're going to be heard because we feel like in the north we're being treated differently from the south because they're saying there's less ridership. So I hope that this change doesn't occur, but we're not going to let it just stay here. It will continue. Thank you.
Denise Deja. Anybody else after Denise? Please give me your card. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Denise Deja. I live at 528 Dartmoor Street North in St. Pete. And I'm here to talk about 38, 5, and 22. 38 is a real important route for me. I'm a volunteer political activist, and Allendale Church is on the 38 at Haynes Road, and I go to that church fairly regularly for many of my activist meetings. There are several that the church they allow us to use their facility for many of our meetings and events. So I'm regularly at that church, and because I don't drive, that is my only way to get there. And there is not really an easier way to get there for me. I live downtown, I live on 4th and 5th, so that is the best way for me to get there without having to change several different buses, etc. The 5 is literally steps away from my door. I live on Dartmoor and 5th, so I use that on a very regular basis. I use that to do, when I do all of my heavy shopping, I'm using that to go into Central Plaza. When I'm coming back, it's a block away from my house to come back, and I'm loaded down with all kinds of shopping bags and usually a cart. And because I have nerve damage and a lot of problems in my back and my legs, it's very difficult for me to have to drag all this stuff back home blocks away. So that change would really, really make things difficult for me. And the 22, well, the 22 is where all the hardware stores are. And so I know that seems kind of silly to some people, but there's several hardware stores there. Mazzaro's is there, which a lot of people do shop at on a regular basis. And for hardware stores, that's where I always go. There's, a lot of them there. There's a lot of other home improvement stores there that I use regularly. And although it's an hour drive, one way to and one way back, that's a whole day for me just to go to a hardware store. That's the only way for me to get there, and it's the only place I can get some of the stuff that I need to get that is oriented for those things. So taking that route out just eliminates a whole entire thing for me that I can't really get anywhere else. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? With that, we will close the public hearing. I want to thank you on behalf of the PSTA board and staff for coming out tonight and telling us your stories and making sure that we know what your needs are. If you have additional comments, please send them to routechanges@psta.net. Staff will be here for a little while longer if you have additional questions or comments. Thank you all very much. Have a safe evening.